You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is Good luck! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miscommunication. It's over 9,000!
My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Do a barrel roll. Don't face me, bro. It's a trap. I'm a fire in my labor. Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Nerd to Know Basis Show. My name is Kieran Calcon and with me as usual are, in alphabetical order,
Ahoy, Dara.
And Kev, who unfortunately the radio listeners won't get the benefit of his wonderful wizard's hat.
This is why you got to check out that sweet, sweet exclusive YouTube content. Visual aids.
So we have a very packed show tonight. We've got Venom on the cards. We've got some DC stuff. Dara plans to do horrible things to Sim characters. But first off, I believe, Kev, you want to lead with a topic. So I'll pass my hat over to you.
Before it absolutely gets buried, and because I don't have Bryn here to back me up with it, I want to give a shout out to those listeners. Well, to those listeners who regularly follow us and stick around for the plugs at the end, will know that I've been plugging a D&D campaign that I've been playing through Twitch and now on YouTube. And the campaign specifically is that of the source book called The Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. I want to shout out that the writers of that book, who are a bunch of ex-BioWare writers, like some of the creators on Dragon Age Origins, so the book got pedigree, have started a new Kickstarter where another D&D 5th edition source book, and where Odyssey of the Dragon Lords is Greek mythology themed. This new one is Norse mythology.
Ooh, okay. Very up your street.
Yeah. So why? Yeah. So the new book is called Raiders of the Serpent Sea, and as I said, it looks like they're doing very much the same kind of thing they did with Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, but kind of with a Norse skin. But like, if you're a fan of D&D and like Norse mythology, check out this Kickstarter because it will absolutely be your jam. Aside from having a really, really well-written kind of campaign plot, that of what you'd expect from BioWare writers, they get particularly creative and add in a lot of extra races and class traits very specific to that kind of genre and mythology. Like, all of my players are playing races that were designed for the Greek Odyssey of the Dragon Lords campaign, and all of them are having a blast with it. Something like my friend David is playing the Centaur, who has an added bonus of having a charge attack at 30 feet. And has the capability to be mounted as a bonus action. They just little kind of clever touches that just add a real kind of fun new dynamic to playing. So, to TLDR, if you like Norse mythology and want a good D&D campaign to get players into, check out Raiders of the Serpent Sea on Kickstarter.
Okay, fantastic. That's awesome, Kev. And it's like, I'm not as up on my kind of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Would this be accessible to someone like me who hasn't kind of played it before, or?
Say so. Like, it's a very, like, it's something, again, from my experience from Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, it's very detailed. It's very handholdy. I'd say, like, if you're a first-time DM, I'd say it's pretty accessible. Yeah, like I'd say it's pretty accessible. It's definitely, I'd say, if you're a first-time DM, I'd say jump from something like the D&D starter set to this.
Right.
But like, it's not hard mode. It kind of walks you through the entire campaign and is like, yeah, no, player start at level 1. Here's all the kind of the key marks and what levels they should be. Go ahead.
Okay, that's fantastic. Dara, I assume. Oh, he's gone missing.
No, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. No, because I assume since Dara is eager to become a D&D player at some point, that will interest him.
This, like, I did think of you when I saw this. That like Norse is kind of your aesthetic.
No one wants to play with me. This is the sad part.
This is the new title of the show.
Not even Bryn. He's just like, whatever. I don't care. I'm gonna have my own thing. I'm like, but come on. It's like, So this is sad. I don't know. The wound is still fresh. Well,
but lockdown's hopefully nearly over. Like, I'm sure you can have people.
No, it's coming back.
Oh.
We live in Ireland. We live in a fake country. They don't live in a real country, Kane. They can't run anything except corruption.
God, how do we? Because every week I think this topic won't get scandalous.
That's 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's the count. 5 minutes.
It's like the Simpsons crossing off the states they're not allowed in. It's like, all right, topics we can't approach. Nope, D&D's out. Okay.
Oh no. Right. To be fair, I D&D is something that I am like. That's the thing. I'm like, I think that my biggest barrier to entry, like everyone else, is finding people who like play it, or finding like a group. This is why I should just download that, D&D Tinder app or whatever. But then again, I'm just,
what? D&D Tinder?
Yeah, so like Tinder, right? There's a D&D version where you can find people who haven't got games to play,
Okay, this sounds rather wholesome now to put it like that.
But that's what it is, because I only found out this app exists when I was like talking to someone about it, and they're like, yeah, that already exists. I'm like, oh damn, everything already exists. All the good ideas.
Like there's, aside from even that app, like there's Reddit forums and Discord channels completely dedicated to just like setting up groups of just players.
It's cool. Like, and it's like even like D&D as a campaign, like I've played one before where we just did like a 1-person campaign. So we all played the same character and that was fun. But, for me, I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully when the pandemic does eventually end or, stuff, people just get on with it or whatever, and stuff reopens, it would be cool to kind of, like, I'd love to play Vampire the Masquerade. Like the actual, because I actually have the book over there. And it's pretty cool. Like it's very similar to the actual RPG, but I guess my the video game, because it is an RPG. I guess, Kev, my question is with the D&D as someone who plays it, like when you're comparing it to a Skyrim or a Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines or something like that, is it the same or is it different for like people who haven't experienced it before? And what I will say is my experience of this is very limited. I remember I was in GameSock many moons ago and we did like a vampire thing and I was like, well, you guys really need to chill out or whatever, and I never went back, and because he scared the hell out of me. Is it
that's a big question.
Yeah, I know.
In comparison to like to video games, absolutely. Like there's no two ways about it. Like for me, it's a matter of just kind of role play, of embodiment of role play. At least, like I've been in scenarios as a character that have made me, Kev, feel completely stressed out.
I mean, like,
because I've spent so many years, like every Tuesday, being this. Say like my old bard in one of my past campaigns, being Caspian Sable, the very human fancy boy, vanilla dandy.
That bard made working in Easton's fun.
Who just is in it, who is just a human in a cavalcade of fantasy races. but like that's the thing, like because you spend so long playing this person, like because that campaign went on for years that like he was a part of me. And you don't get that. You don't really get that with a lot of kind of other games, with like particularly video games, because it's you acting it. It's you portraying a role.
Right.
And when Caspian in an ultra-dimensional prison was facing down a dragon, and I realized I had a biscuit of petrification in my pocket, the giddy, like I have never been so physically giddy.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I Kev still like proclaim myself a dragon slayer simply because I hit that dragon with the biscuit. It's just, and that's the other thing is the only like with D&D where video games are kind of set by pre-registered code, and while like modern video games obviously are huge in scope and scale, the only limitation to a D&D campaign is your imagination.
Yeah, I would second that, Kev, because I've only ever played 3 D&D sessions in my life, and they were small ones at that, literally just me, one friend, and the game master. But I still have vivid emotional memories of me, this shady kind of car salesman type potion monk guy, and my half-human, half-orc bumbling Aegis princess, us just going from town to town and getting in scrapes and having a laugh. Like you really, it's hard to describe D&D because so much of each game is what you yourself bring to the table. You know, would that be fair to say, Kev?
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%.
But see, that kind of brings me on to my next question. In my experience with this, and people who I know that do play it, they actually physically me up, like in real life. So there is that sense of, you know, in the room. It's kind of like what we talked about before we came on, like the way gigs don't really work when there isn't people, or wrestling doesn't really work when there's not people there.
That's a really good point of comparison. Yeah,
it's kind of missing that element of fun in the room, you know. And I'm like, does that, like, Kev, as the aficionado who has played obviously a fair bit in online now at this point, which is better? Or
in person. There's no comparison. Like we've now moved back to in-person sessions with all of us having the backstage, and it's the energy has just been absolutely bonkers.
Well, and why is that? Like
it's just like it's literally just kind of the feeding off of people's energy. Like,
yeah, I get you. So it is like, very much like the wrestling thing or the gig thing.
Yeah. It like, and while like online D&D now, I'm not going to say it's completely worthless. It definitely, aside from the fact that it helped us obviously get through, you know, the guts of the pandemic. And let's keep doing it consistently week on week. Like it does have its merits. Obviously, you know, for people who can't meet up in person for say like distance or convenience, it's absolutely handy. And even then, back at the start of the campaign that I stream, I got to use a handful of vocal effects that I could have only done through Discord. To kind of like for my first session, they killed a boar and one of the gods communicated directly through their minds telepathically. And so I added this deep resonant kind of guttural sound effect. And like you can audibly hear a couple of the players like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
So like there is thing like, so it has its own merits, but I can't like in person being like looking people in the eye as you are just playing a character to them, it's just like nothing else.
It's fair.
Yeah.
So I think, to be honest, that's a really nice summation of the whole D&D experience. I don't wish to diminish it now, but I am slightly conscious of time. I hear that there is some DC news that is making the internet catch fire or something. Who would like to take a lead on that?
Well, look, I guess I will. Because I totally forgot that DC fandom was happening, because it's not a real thing. Like, you know,
Bless them. Like everything DC try, they're trying. They're doing. They're trying their best.
But like all these online convention things, they have limitations, I suppose. And like even with is it Comic-Con?
Well, sorry, let's back up even further. What on earth is DC fandom?
Keen, we covered it last year in great detail.
Look, you covered the fact that we were starting half an hour later last week, and I didn't know.
This is fair.
Blank slate. Go on.
Fair. So DC fandom. Sorry.
He is a man of a sieve.
Yeah, exactly.
Just swamp.
Just gone.
No, sieves of integrity. I'm just an empty space.
So, for all the folks who are just joining us, DC fandom is DC's specific own brand Comic-Con, basically, and it has the same kind of thing where they do panels and they do announcement, all that kind of stuff. And we covered that last year on this show. So if you want to go and check that out, Keen, maybe do.
I certainly will.
Yeah.
I'll be extra embarrassed if it's an episode I'm on.
You are on it. You're
great,
it.
Cool. Great.
It's on our YouTube, but also on our Spotify. So do check that out.
You're going to get at least one more click on it from me. Yes,
exactly. So obviously they're covering their big releases and all that kind of stuff. But I always forget about it because it's like it's not really a thing, and unless you're going to it, you're like, oh, whatever. Sure, even with Comic-Con when it happened last year, we weren't really bothered because it's like, man, what's the point? So, but I only started noticing this was happening because I'm like, geez, there's a lot of DC stuff just appearing on YouTube. What's going on? And then I realized, oh yeah, that thing's happening. But anyway, so look, the cool thing about it is we did get a lot of announcements and a lot of trailers and stuff like that. So we got trailer for the Batman, which looks pretty good. We got a trailer for Black Adam, which looks amazing.
Is that actually happening?
Yeah.
I just thought that was clickbait articles, like, nope. Spinning a yarn for like 5 years.
Black Adam will hit theaters July 29th, 2020.
Oh, I'm falling behind. I'm falling behind the comic book news, and I'm never going to catch up.
It's okay. It's all right. We also got we got an update on Suicide Squad, the game, which, okay. We got the real enchilada here. The Flash.
I'm sorry, are we going to just gloss past the fact that Shazam 2 has both Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren playing gods?
Haven't got there.
Is Shazam 2?
Haven't got there yet.
Okay.
God.
That's 2023. We'll get there.
Okay. Oh, you're running chronologically.
I'm running chronologically. Don't worry, guys.
I want to make sure we're not forgetting that.
Oh no, Kev, do not worry, sir. We're going to cover it all. But I am going through this list. So the Flash teases the multiverse, which is amazing. So it has Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, both playing Batman.
I'm amazed they managed to get Ben Affleck back.
I'm not. Ben Affleck loved playing Batman. He just hated the Snyder cut.
Oh, I know.
He hated not the Snyder cut. He liked the Snyder cut. But I'm shocked he's back. So he's back. Ezra Miller is playing 2 Flash as well. So, man, and what they released wasn't a trailer. It was like a teaser. And they're actually just hanging out in the Batman 89 Batcave.
Ooh, okay.
And they're going to Wayne Manor and obviously talking to Michael Keaton. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so incredibly excited. There's a few things I wanted more, but one of the things that I wanted a lot was Michael Keaton to come back as Batman, because he is, in my opinion, the best Batman, like live action. Ben Affleck's up there, actually, to be fair. But the reason why I say this, Michael Keaton embodied Batman, but also this like silent rage that was in Bruce Wayne very well.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
But there's a bit as well where he's like, he gets attacked by someone and he just punches your man's face and he's like, you're going to jail. And you're like, wow.
In the original film or in the new trailer?
No, in the original film. Like, I don't know how physical Michael Keaton's going to be now, but like, he was very...
Oh, yeah, sure. Batman. Do you not remember him, like, his whole, come on, let's get nuts thing? Like, where he just, like, goes from casually conversation to, like, That
was it. So, look, as I said, that's going to be really cool. That's coming out November 4th, 2022. So, kind of moving up a little bit into 2023, there it was Gotham Knights is coming out as well. But who really cares about that?
Yeah, no, that's I'm not playing an online only game. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Peacemaker is also coming out in 2022. That looks pretty.
This is the guy from
Suicide
Squad.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
John Cena. Yeah, I think it's a prequel because spoilers, he gets his head blown off in the movie. So yeah. But look, before we get on,
Spoilers, he gets better.
I said spoilers. I said spoilers. But here's the thing. Okay, so before we get on to the Shazam and Aquaman news, they also did a whole thing on Batwoman, and that's probably the worst thing
What
ever
do you
made.
mean?
Oh, the fact that it's not over yet. It's still a thing.
Didn't the original Batwoman come out and give some troubling production reports and things today and all that?
It doesn't matter what she said about it. It's still the worst thing ever made by a human. Whether she was in it or your woman in it, and it just looks terrible.
Oh, I know, but I'm not talking
is
about
this the CW one or
this is So all
Ruby Rose, yeah.
Ruby Rose, yeah. So all CW shows are pretty much terrible, right? Legends of Tomorrow is actually pretty good with Constantine in it, but that's it. He's like
really? I thought this is like Arrow and everything. I thought people really liked this stuff.
Arrow was amazing until it wasn't. Like the CW stuff was pretty good, but it shouldn't have went on for like 27 seasons. It's like The Simpsons. It's like The Flash should have ended about 10 years ago. Supergirl should have ended before that. Superman and Lois apparently is pretty good. But anyway.
Yeah, it kind of belongs to that era where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the Marvel presence on TV. That kind of style of television,
Yeah, and they all look the same. But Batwoman specifically is atrociously bad. And then you have your woman in it who does, no disrespect to cosplayers, because we have a lot of cosplayers to listen to. Cosplayers are awesome, right? I have a lot of respect for cosplayers, and it's a fun thing to do in general, right? We all cosplay here, right? But she looks like a bad cosplayer, like someone who just can't do it. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, terrible. And her acting's atrocious. Ruby Rose was also a bad cosplayer who can't do it. Don't know what's going on. It's like, can you not hire someone to do a good costume for these lads?
Well, I suppose the costume isn't really on her. But yeah, I did watch the first episode, and certainly Stevie couldn't watch more than 20 minutes of it. It was having not seen any other CW stuff, we found it very pandering,
Yeah, it's like, and again, I'm not talking about the content of the show. The content of the show is a whole other podcast.
Right.
It's extremely pandering and beats you over the head with X, Y, and Z, right? But what I mean, aesthetically, the costuming is atrociously bad.
Right.
The acting is atrociously bad. And you're like, okay, Ruby Rose left, fair. That should have been the end of it. Then he brought back this other one, and it's like, why are you here? Like, the show had a very good end point where we could have just put it under the carpet and that would have been it. But anyway,
or it's a shared universe. You could have had her popping up in other things, that kind of stuff.
Well, what was it? There was the Crisis on Infinite Earth thing they did, which as someone who might possibly be the biggest Crisis on Infinite Earth fan in the world, with the exception of your man who wrote his college thesis about it, which I have read. I have read it. I went on the internet and actually read his college thesis. That's how much of a fan I am. I have all the original runs as a collector's edition, and I have it in hardback. And I just need to get the definitive edition, and then I have every single version of Crisis on Infinite Earth. So I am a huge fan of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I couldn't watch that garbage because it was so terrible. So I hate the CW shows, and Batwoman is the worst of it, and that is saying something. So it wasn't all good. So that's the rant over, and we're going to go to Aquaman and Shazam.
Oh, damn. Right.
Aquaman and Shazam. So Kev, the floor is yours, sir. I'm sorry.
To be honest, that was kind of, to be honest, what I said earlier was kind of all I want to say. I still have not actually seen Shazam.
It's on Netflix now.
I know.
What?
I know. I'm actually on that. Well, you mentioned it. I never saw Aquaman either.
Holy moly! That was now.
Man.
Whether it's good now, I'm not sure, but it was definitely great fun in cinemas.
There was a point where I just did not want to watch a DC movie.
No, that is fair. That is
fair, logical.
I think it was that was around Aquaman, and Shazam just passed me. I think I remember seeing trailers for that for months and months and months, and then I just didn't hear it came out.
Yeah, look, the thing about it is, right, Shazam and Aquaman were the exceptions in the sewer of DC movies.
Now, be fair, Joker came out after Shazam. They had a bit of and Birds of Prey. They had
Birds of Prey was stellar.
I don't like DC at the best of times, but give them credit. 4 good movies in a row isn't a fluke anymore.
No, but this is okay. context is important. What
Yes.
you're saying
Yeah,
is
like that was it. This was when like Justice
is-
League came out.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't go worry. I was completely on that anti-DC train, but I just
I'm not.
will say
I'm
that, like,
not
you know,
anti. Look, I'm not anti DC at all. I prefer DC to Marvel. In fact, I exclusively only buy DC books because Marvel books are garbage tier, right? So
no, I don't know
no,
that. I haven't read
all
one in
Marvel
10
books
years.
are bad. Name for me one good Marvel book that's currently running. Bet
Oh
you
well, I
can't do
haven't
it.
read one in 10 years.
There
so-
you go. Don't.
Yeah,
They're all
you're the only
terrible.
crazy person here reading comic
Yeah,
books
no,
still.
they're-
So, like,
I know. It's weird. Every time I
you can say anything, and I got nothing.
no Marvel current books are terrible. DC's getting there. I literally only buy Batman 89 now, and actually Kang is pretty good to be fair as a Marvel property, but that's a rarity. The fact that there's a good Marvel book out in 2021, it's ridiculous. But yeah, no, listen, as I said to you, I'm not anti-DC on it, but the context of this was important. These were Shazam and Aquaman came out, and people were like, "What? What? How did this happen?" Like, and funny enough, I'll tell you, you know the link between the two, Kev.
Not really.
So they're both like kind of loser characters that nobody liked, right? Jeff Johns, who was the exclusive, who actually was the Kevin Feige of DC, right? He actually wrote the comics that brought them back. Properly. Yeah, and both the movies are actually based on the runs that Jeff Johns wrote. So that's why they're so good, because he like their new 52 interpretations of the characters, and they're just phenomenal. So
And,
like
one of the producers actually gave a damn about them.
Well, your man who was running the movies is the same guy who wrote the comics, so he was like, "Here's how to do it properly."
Yeah.
And then obviously the direction was super good in that. But you know, I was blown away by how good those movies were, and he had no right to be as good as they were because of how bad it was. But here's the cool thing, right? So I love Black Adam. He's one of my favorite DC characters, right? So we have Black Adam in his own movie, and then there's the Shazam, and then obviously at some point they're going to run into Black Adam and Shazam, because that's the whole point of it. So yeah, man, I know DC fandom had some good stuff. I still don't buy it as a real thing unless they want to give me tickets to go to it in real life. And then it's the best thing in the world. But,
Can I ask, for the benefit of people who, like me, may have not seen the Batman trailer, what kind of do we know so far? Like,
which one?
The
Robert
the
Pattinson
Batman trailer, the one with our Pats beating like a penguin or something.
It looks really good. Kev, I know you were excited about it, so I'm going to give you the floor.
It's not so much I'm excited about it. I'm just intrigued by it, because like I think we're at a point now where Batman is hitting a saturation point. Like we've had several recently. Yeah. And so it was a weird move for DC to just be like we were setting up a Batman. Here's an entirely different Batman in a blockbuster movie. I'm intrigued by it. So the fact that like it's kind of going for another dark, gritty tone is something that's giving me pause. But like again, it relies on two things. It is obviously, you know, Pattinson, who I think could bring a very different energy. It looks like he's kind of bring a very brooding kind of antisocial kind of energy, which it's interesting.
Apparently, he spends most of the time in the suit.
Oh, fair play.
He spends most of the movie. He's very rarely out of it. I think everything we've seen in the trailer is probably the extent of him being out of the suit.
And it's going to, and like most of the way it's going to fall on both Colin Farrell's Penguin, which from the trailer already looks really solid, and who's playing the Riddler.
That I'm not sure.
The guy from Little Miss Sunshine, Paul. What's his name?
I do not know that.
He was in Looper as well. He's super recognizable. Paul Dano, I think.
Yeah. So like, I think that it's definitely going to be like, because that's kind of, again, that's one of the big things with Batman is who he's facing off against, because obviously his road gallery is.
It is Paul Dano. Yeah, it's Paul Dano. Or he's a great casting choice. Actually,
plus you've got Zoe Saldana as Catwoman. Was that there too?
Yes.
Like the casting here is weird. As far as like, but the cool thing about it being weird is it's very much its own thing, and I think that's the right way to play these Elseworld movies.
Yeah,
because
I think DC have really kind of like they decided to kind of lean into the fact that they don't have the tight universal narrative that Marvel have, so they're just going scattershot.
Well, no, hold on. Okay, to bring it,
I know that like obviously the Flash is going to multiverse everything together.
No, hold on. Listen, right. So comics are weird. Right?
Comics are dumb.
So we're gonna have a comic history lesson. So everybody, put your ticket hats on. So here we go. Right. Kev's already
way ahead of you.
Yeah. So right.
A hat. Hang on.
For the benefit of those
radio listeners.
Exactly.
Here we are.
Keane has a hat. All right. So we're all settled in. So what people might not have realized up until about 5 years ago, everything that ever happened in Marvel happened in comics. Every single thing that happened in Marvel comics happened, particularly with Spider-Man. Right.
I'm interested to see where this is going.
So let me finish. So everything, right? So all the continuity, all that kind of stuff happened, right? And then they did have multiverses, all that kind of stuff. But there was a mainline continuity in Spider-Man specifically because it actually had the longest run, going all the way from the first issue to the death of Gwen Stacy to Venom to One Last Day to all that kind of stuff, right? And then it was rebooted and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's why. Because the big thing and the reason for it was they wanted to give them leeway, but also not break this continuity. They wanted to build up the world, which is why the Marvel world is so ingratiated and so full, because they've had years to actually flesh these characters out in one big long narrative. It also adds to the problem, which why Marvel rebooted, where it's like, oh, I want to get into comics, where do I start? Which is the biggest question I hear from people all the time. Well, not anymore, because no one reads comics anymore, and I don't blame them. But whenever I would get it, people would be like, well, where do I start? DC's solution to it was, we're going to keep rebooting everything, right? And what they did is they would bring in, and that's how they started their Elsewood stories. They would be like, right, well, we have this one story, but we can't have them here. But what if we do this with it? And then this is what happened with the Flash, where they had the World War II characters. And then after the war, they're like, well, we got to keep them separate. And then it was a constant multiverse kind of things. They brought them together to try and have one continuity. Then other writers who grew up on the multiverse were like, I like the multiverse. They'd bring it back. And then that cycle continued for 4 or 5 times, right? So where we stand is Marvel for years and years had this one continuity where all the characters fleshed out, etc. So when they're on the screen, it's way more natural for a Marvel universe MCU like we have. It's why it works so well, because that's how it's always worked in Marvel. That's how Marvel comics work, right? And you can have the multiverse as well, but that still ties into the actual universe, because at the end of the day, there is really only one Earth, one that people care about in Marvel. Even though there's hundreds of these other multiverse, everything still revolves around whatever they pick the main universe to be. And that's why the comics have their own thing. But then even inside the comic multiverse thing, there is the MCU, right? There is that planet in that multiverse, right? But it's still focused on it. DC Comics and DC properties work completely differently. They can quite happily go off and you can have, Batman was killed, Bruce Wayne was killed. So his mother and father are the Batman and the Joker, respectively. You can have a universe that, Superman never showed up, or Superman was adopted by the Waynes. So Superman is Batman with all the powers. Basically, you can do whatever you want with DC characters. There is that leeway because that's the way it's always been. People were always given these characters like, right, we have this mainline story, but do not touch the mainline story. We can do whatever you want. And for me, when that wasn't the approach, when DC were like, or Warner Brothers were like, hey, we're going to do a big shared universe kind of thing, and it's all going to connect together, I'm like, that's never going to work.
Right.
That's never going to work. You can't have these stories inside it, which is why I'm so excited about The Flash, because that's exactly what they're doing, where these can cross over, but just do your own story and have stuff connecting. And that's what they're doing here with the Batman. The Batman is its own thing, just like the Joker is its own thing. They don't need to connect. They don't ever need to connect. No. There's no reason for them ever. It would be stupid. But at the same time, they do exist. They're all canon.
Because so they're kind of having their cake and eating it too, basically.
It's exactly, because DC figured this out in the 40s.
Now.
And that's the way they did it.
I've been very patiently listening, Dara, because I understand that like the appeal of just rebooting the universe every now and again is to make it more accessible.
And
I say this,
and he did that with the New 52. That's what that was all about. Was giving everybody a fresh standpoint. And guess what failed? The New 52.
right. Now, here's my question. As someone who started Marvel by literally just going to Eason's, picking up a Spider-Man and saying, this looks all right, and getting on with it.
But that's what you're supposed to do.
If the DC universe keeps rebooting itself and there's all these multiple universes where Superman is Batman, whatever, does that not make it even more confusing to just start somewhere? Because you don't have the context of the fact that the universe is rebooted unless you're already in it, you know?
You don't necessarily need it. Like, you know, for anyone who for some reason wants to read comics, my advice, if you want to read comics, read the good ones from like 20 years ago, right? There's nothing good that came out recently in the past 10, 15 years. Comic book industry is dying, and thank God that it is, because it's absolute garbage here, right? You know, I'm sorry if that offends someone, but it's true. Write good books. You know.
God, the Spider-Man deal with the devil.
Controversial opinion. If you want to read comics, just read manga.
Well, actually, Kev's right, because guess what? They're selling comics at a massive rate.
I can tell you that from literally watching people in a bookshop.
But
sure. Kev has a little manga garden he's cultivated himself in the shop.
But that's the reason why. Because look, there are like DC books. You know, the New 52 has some amazing stuff. Scott Snyder is probably one of the best comic book writers of all time.
Any relation or?
No relation. It's just how it happens to be the name. I've actually met him as well. He's such a nice guy. Yeah, I've met him a bunch of times actually. He's a really nice guy. And then when I was in San Francisco, actually, I went into a comic book shop and I picked up a book I didn't have, and he had signed it. I'm like, oh, that's so funny. So I bought it. But yeah, no, I actually, when I met him last time, he signed Black Mirror, and he made it with a proper inscription. He's like, oh, you know, Tidar from Gotham or whatever. I was like, oh, it's so cool.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, he's a cool
really
guy.
Nice.
He's a cool guy. But as I said, like, if you want good modern stories, read that stuff. DC are the only place you're going to find it. Marvel wants to destroy itself. So I'm just like, let it destroy itself with absolute nonsense stories that make no sense and hey everybody. But yeah, no, DC, you'll probably find some good books, but it's few and far between. My advice would be, if you want newer stuff, the New 52, Batman, Shazam, Aquaman, you're good, right? Justice League is good. I would say go back, read Grant Morrison's run. Pick any Grant Morrison, you'll have a great time. JLA from about 20 years ago, and then you can jump back. You know, just the big hits are always going to be big hits for a reason, and you're not going to find anything that's better than.
Yeah.
But the reason that, to answer your question, Keane, with that confusion, you don't necessarily have to know that there's all this multiverse kind of stuff. It's there as a side dish. For example, you can read Watchmen, right, and have a great time, and leave it at that. Or you can delve into that, read the follow-ups, and then read the crossover into Batman, right? It's there. What I mean is, DC doesn't insult your intelligence, because it's like, you're going to dig anyway. Here you go. It gives you what you want, and gives you very self-contained stories. So you can have the Killing Joke. When you made the Killing Joke canon, it was ridiculous, but you can have the Killing Joke, right, and be like, cool, you know, and then that's it. You can have a very satisfying experience with Court of Owls, for example, but still be a big fan of Batman from the 80s or 90s when it was all dark, or, you know, Nightfall or whatever. But what's interesting is the continuities they have enough stuff that's in it. For example, Harley Quinn. Quinn wasn't in the comics. She's
That's
not from
true. Yeah, of course. She's from the cartoon.
From the cartoon, and she was adopted into canon. So there are kind of these, like, forgive the term, these nexus point events, nexus events where they are consistent through all timelines. So there's enough to grab onto. But the great thing about the multiverse, and in multiverse string theory in general, right, it's that every choice or any choice creates a branch timeline. And that's kind of what happened. So, like, you know, again, the best example of this is Bruce Wayne was killed. What happened to his parents? No, Bruce Wayne was killed. What happened to his parents? Well, they went nuts with the grief. His dad became Batman, and his mom became the Joker.
I agree with that.
That's in the Flashpoint animated movie.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the best example of this kind of thing. Or Superman was he landed in Russia and became a Soviet hero. There's these great things you can do, and that's what I would say. It's not confusing in and of itself. I would argue Marvel's way of doing it was more confusing because you had to have all this context, and it is kind of harder to pick up a Marvel trade outside of the core ones because you're not getting a full experience. You're getting
I suppose so,
experience.
but like a good, well-written story won't need the context of it. Like I picked up in the middle of a story, my first issue, the middle of a 12-part Mark Miller story where, Aunt May had been kidnapped. And because issues 3 and 4 were good enough, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and
but you had
to guide me along,
But you had the cultural context of knowing who Aunt May and Spider-Man were.
Yeah, but I think even people who don't care about Spider-Man know who like Aunt May is and that kind of stuff.
But
I think DC and Marvel are more similar than they would like to admit.
They are, but I'm fully convinced Marvel wants to destroy itself.
While we, just because I am looking at the timer, while we are actually on the topic of Marvel and multiversal shenanigans,
yes,
I think this show is long overdue a good talk on What If.
Yeah, for sure. And this actually, that's a great segue, Kev. It actually does kind of tie in exactly.
The hat's helping tonight.
That's it. So yeah, the what if is exactly what I was talking about, but it's Marvel's attempt to show why they don't have their cake and eat it too. That they have these multiverse stories, but what did they do? They tried to bring them all back into the main timeline to sort them out. That's the difference.
It's been a couple of weeks now, so those kind of up top, we're going to be talking spoilers on What If. Because here's the thing, I think I mentioned, I think we did touch on it a couple of weeks ago when like the series was about half out.
Yeah.
That I was really enjoying the fact that it was just piecemeal. Here's week on week. Here's just little nuggets of like literally what if. Just what if there were zombies? What if Doctor Strange lost his partner? What if Captain Carter? Like this kind of like little kind of nuggets, interesting ideas, some hits, some fell. That's it. Like it was kind of a little kind of snack, like it was a little kind of snack piece. And then they did what I just didn't expect and was like, what if we crossed them back over in the last 2 episodes? What if we made this whole series an arc?
Which,
right. Dude, I wouldn't go so far as to call it an arc, but they brought one piece of everything back for the end.
That's what Marvel do. It's the most Marvel thing in the world. And you know what? We're going to do spoilers, but again, it's what they do with their Spider-Mans. That's what they're doing with their Spider-Mans now. They're fixing the continuity problem. See, for Marvel multiverse, Marvel are the TVA. They're the TVA. They don't see their multiverse as a thing that they can play in, like a sandbox. They see it as a problem to prune.
I think the appeal of What If is that is the variety itself. That if one thing doesn't appeal to you, something else will be along next week.
This is the great thing about the multiverse. There is something there for everybody. But as a whole, if you're going to do that, and if that's your approach, you're obviously not going to appeal to it. Like if I see What If as a buffet table, right? Where you can go in and you can get whatever you want, and like you might want some chips, you might want some ice cream or whatever. But then there's like shish kebab, or there's sushi. Not everybody likes sushi. Not everybody likes ham, or there's a bunch of ham. Some people don't like ham, right? And that's it. Well, What If, and that's why it's not the weakest for me, but it is diminished by the fact that it not by design. It's there to have something for everybody, so it's not as comprehensive or coherent as the rest of everything else, because obviously it can be. But that's my thoughts on that. Like what I liked, I really liked. What I didn't like, I didn't say this is the worst thing ever. I was like, what else is on?
I definitely enjoyed the like where we're kind of we gotten used to the kind of the pretty standard like kind of Avengers lineup in the movies. Seeing just kind of a bit more of a kind of a mixed bag of just like, here's Doctor Strange and here's Gamora and here's Killmonger, and just kind of a bit more of a variety of kind of Guardians of the Multiverse.
That's
like I thought like there was fun again, like a different like a really stupid Thor, like just it was a kind of fun. There was definitely kind of fun chemistry there, but then it also did have the WandaVision problem of just kind of being a laser punch fight.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a little bit interesting, a little bit bland. And also the fact that like Killmonger they just brought Killmonger in to be the bad guy. I clocked that
was
from
there in the episode.
I clocked that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, like he's the most interesting bad guy they had before Thanos.
Well, actually, that's a point I'm glad you brought up there, because I like the way they brought Ultron into this. As you know, as Katie, who's on the show quite a lot, would point out, like he's a character with a lot of potential that kind of got killed off before we could explore it.
This is like I'm glad to see that we got like an interesting Ultron arc that wasn't that terrible movie.
I don't hate Age of Ultron, but I think like it's definitely What If succeeds, it succeeds because it's exploring potential that can't be realized in other avenues of the universe. Like, you know, a psychotic older Ant-Man. That's a cool idea. The Wasp and Agent 13 being the central characters in a zombie film. You'll never get that in cinema. Let's see it here. Like, you know, all that kind of stuff. Hell, even Agent Carter to some degree, you know, like.
If anything, that's sorry, Dara, I'll let you go in a sec, but like it did kind of leave me feeling like this was a kind of a soft boot for an Agent Carter series. That was at least the read I kind of got.
There
was
the end. Talks for the Black Panther Guardians of the Galaxy thing being an animated series, apparently. Just because
that's the other thing. Like
at the request of Chadwick Boseman. Again, this is all stuff that I've read from the writers on the series. I can't verify it myself, but I'm just saying they said it. You know.
I just want to say, Age of Ultron gets a little bit better when you watch it again.
Oh, like I said, I don't hate it, but like, you know, it's just as far as Ultron's presence in the entire MCU.
Very upsetting.
He's very much locked in that little bubble, you know.
Yeah, and look, the thing about it is, it's like, you know, this whole multiverse thing is happening for one reason. Marvel needs to clean up their house because it's a mess.
We say about the biggest media brand in the entire universe.
Well, no, the problem isn't the brand. The problem is that they own stuff that was a mess. They own the Spider, and it goes right into Venom. They own Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man, right? They own X-Men and the Fantastic Four, all the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and they also wrote themselves into a corner with certain things. They used Ultron too early. They did the Black Panther thing. They did Guardians of the Galaxy. They played their hand really early, and they went so big. And they did a snap. They did Civil War.
But like, you know, those wouldn't be big things if the films didn't do them well and make them big things, you know.
Exactly. But what I'm saying to you is, where else are they going to go? They can't. And this is why we're seeing this reshuffle now. Like, the only thing they could have done is have Galactus come down, but that would have looked ridiculous, and they haven't done that yet. So they've already went out, they've pushed it, they've given us Wakanda, they've given us the universe, they've given us the snap, they've given us things. So the only thing they haven't done, which is what they're doing now, is time and dimension. So what we're going to have now is this kind of reshoot, and it gives them.
I mean, they've still got again, you know, we know we're getting a Fantastic Four movie, so we're gonna get Doom, and presumably then later on down the line we're gonna get Silver Surfer and Galactus. So like
we've already had Kang's kicking about.
No, but what I'm saying to you is, lads, they had to reset the table. They had to reset the status quo, because the status quo now is so high that it's like, crap, what are we going to do? You know, and this is what Marvel always tried to do. This is why they set stuff with events and their crossovers. So the crossovers, again, it's what Marvel do. But like, for example, Secret Wars, there was talk that they're going to do Secret Wars, right? And Secret Wars is a cool idea, but again, it's often its own thing. It doesn't have any stakes in reality. And by setting their world in a quasi-real Earth or whatever, they do still have to pay by the timeline. So they still have to explain where the mutants came from, why the Fantastic Four didn't do anything for the past 20 years, and also the Spider-Man thing.
Now let's talk about Venom. You listen at your own peril.
Yeah, no, we're diving
of spider content is spoiled for you.
Diving head first into spoilers. I suppose actually before, I think just kind of get out of the way. First off, just kind of Venom, Let There Be Carnage as just a movie.
Could someone give me the gist?
It is. I think the gist is it's more of the first one, but this time with Woody Harrelson in still a terrible hairdo.
I think that's just the constant joke that he has. He just has like the worst hair ever,
It's like-
the worst
it's-
wigs ever.
Okay, yeah, like that's here. Okay, because this is. I remember watching Venom on a plane to Tokyo.
Let it
I
be
love
said on the radio that Kev cringed so much his hat fell off.
I know, like it's just. I remember watching it, thinking this was one of the best things I'd ever seen. I loved it to bits. Seeing
Yeah,
that
me too.
seeing that post credit sequence, and realizing we're never getting this movie. This is way too schlocky, and then it happened.
You know
And
what though?
And
Sorry, go
obviously, sorry, I'm actually just focusing on Woody Harrelson's era. We'll get back to that movie in a second.
Okay, I'll let
Of course,
you go.
they had to change the dumb curly wig, but then they changed it to like a combed down fringe that looks like he's from Blanche, and to just
Oh man. Be aware we're on a Blanche radio station.
and lads from Blanche get a better hairdo.
Or a wizard hat. Either way.
Come at me. But yeah, I think like that's I knew that obviously the movie did, like the first one did very well, so I was kind of surprised that this happened, but I'm delighted by it because Tom Hardy has just kind of taken this character and just ran with it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sure. He had said his inspiration for playing Venom was to play Ren and Stimpy at the same time.
And I think like it was mentioned just before the movie came out that Andy Serkis, who directed the sequel,
that was so weird to me.
Yeah, but specifically kind of wrote a very romantic tension between Eddie and Venom.
Yeah, which
and
you
it
can
works.
see it.
Oh,
you can see it.
and
Yeah.
The actor who played Gollum is writing romantic tension between the two sides of this character's personality.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going on there.
But like, and it's so on, like it's clear you can see that in the movie, but it really works. It's really enjoyable, and that's like much like the first one. That's absolutely still the highlight of this one is how Venom and Eddie interact. But this time we have an actually interesting villain. Unlike, it's like now I think like Woody Harrelson does a pretty good job. I think he hams it up. I think just enough. He could have done more, but
it is called Carnage.
I think that's the other thing is Carnage is actually, for being just another symbiote, Carnage is one of the more interesting because he's just completely psychotic. Like that's Carnage's whole deal.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: we also got 3 symbiotes. So we got obviously Eddie Brock's girlfriend, who's named Annie. Yeah, that's her name, Annie.
Yes.
And I went to go see this movie, and it was very quick. Like I know
it's an hour and a half, and
it just zips along.
That sounds delightful.
I love
it. Just
God.
zips along.
I hope this means people stop making 2.5 hour movies. I need them to stop stretching movies out to be too long. Make 90-minute movies, please.
That's why I don't go to cinemas. Like I haven't seen James Bond yet because it takes like half an hour just to get to the opening credits or something. Apparently, you know.
Yeah. No, that's it. You know, and it's one of those things where you're sitting there going, "Okay, cool." You know, but like I was shocked that it was that quick, right? And I'm like, actually, that must have been a pretty cool. That must have been a pretty good movie. And when I was thinking back, I'm like, it wasn't a good movie. It wasn't a bad movie. Yeah, it was grand.
Well, that's basically the description of the first one.
No, the first one was a complete shock. How good it was. It had no reason to be.
Crazy.
I think a lot of people went in thinking it was going to be terrible.
Yeah,
I definitely did. It was the wonderful moment because everyone made fun of the turn the wind line from the trailer, and the fact that they confidently closed the movie on that before Eminem starts rapping about Venom. It's a wonderful serendipity.
Like everyone's expectation for that was on the floor, and then when it came out, and you're like, actually, that movie's pretty good. It's not good. Like not good. It's
fun.
So fun.
Fun.
It's just so fun. Yeah. And you're like, okay, this is actually really good. And I enjoyed it. And you can watch it again. And look, any movie that's in San Francisco, I'm going to give it like a lot of leeway because I just...
Oh, you get plenty of San Francisco, sir.
You do. It's great. It's just like the best city in the world. But any movie that's in it, I'm just like, all right, cool. I'll watch it just because I think it's a beautiful city. And I like just seeing it. But yeah, no. And then when I saw this, I was like, okay, cool. But here's where it gets interesting. So we heard going in that, well, actually, when the movie came out initially, Venom 1, your one was like, oh, it's in the MCU, and Kevin Feige was like, no.
Oh, he gave that stunning turn.
Yeah,
with the giant eyes.
He's like, no, what are you talking about? It's not. And then so there's always kind of this coming and going. Is it in the MCU? Is it not in the MCU? And then and Tom Hardy actually was supposed to be in the first one in a cameo, but they nixed that.
Oh, you mean Spider-Man?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, not
Yeah.
Tom Hardy. Tom Holland. Sorry. Yeah, Tom
that's
Holland
it.
was supposed to be in
Getting
it.
our Toms mixed up, or
Yeah,
Tom
too many
Hiddleston's, or Tom Hardy's.
Oh, stop! It's like all the Chris's in
Yeah,
Marvel.
Chris is
The age of the Chris is over. The time.
the age of Tom. The
has
time of
come.
Tom has
come.
come.
So yeah, and he was supposed to be in it, but obviously they cut that for some reason, and I'm kind of glad they did, because what a perfect time for this. So folks, we'll be back after this short break here on Phoenix 92.5
This is
FM.
worth it. We can work it. She says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic. I tell her while we're at it, we can work it. She says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Hey, Dara, what are you doing over there in Ireland? Like with the freaking leprechauns and everything. That's not cool. You should be over here with the cosplayers. At least then you could, like, I don't know, pretend like you got, I don't know, some kind of thing going on. Yeah, with, you give me a Brooklyn Rage. Yeah, with ya. Dara? Yeah, Dara. Why ain't you over here with Joey? Anyway, we missed you, dude. So, this is Little Karibo saying,
I love it. All I do is just...
Check out the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, over on nerdtoknowmedia.com, the only wrestling podcast by wrestling fans who don't hate wrestling. We'll see you then.
And we are back here on Nerd to Know basis. The way they did so. Kev, do you want to talk about how they did it, or
yeah? So, like as I said, kind of completely separate to the movie itself.
Yeah,
they have a post-credit sequence where Eddie is literally sitting in bed and is just plucked from his dingy hotel room, just tossed straight into a different bedroom in a multiverse. And there's J. Jonah Jameson from the MCU Spider-Verse on the TV, talking about the end of Far From Home. Like, literally just Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is now in the MCU.
Just when you say tossed, are we talking like a Toy Story claw coming down?
No,
like literally just the world around him just moves.
Yeah, because it's funny. Like, so at the end of Venom 2, he has to go on the run. And he ends up on this beach, and you have this really romantic scene between him and Venom. It's like, oh, hey, because there's a whole thing where there's a running joke where he wants to feel the wind in his hair and the sand
between his toes.
Yeah. And Eddie's like, you don't have any hair, but we'll see what we can do with the sand. So eventually it ends with him with his feet in the sand anyway. And he's like, sorry, we can't do anything about the hair, but it's nice,
It's a real wholesome ending to this,
really
to this fun movie.
Yeah. And then it goes to they're in the hotel room, and Venom's like, hey, do you want me to show you like some like the true extent of what's out there? And then Eddie Brock's like, yeah, sure, I can handle it. And then there's just a shift. Literally the whole room just moves. And he's like, did you do that? And he goes, no. And then some lad and then it's obviously J. Jonah Jameson is on the TV. And then some lad in a towel walks and he goes, what are you doing in my room? And he goes, oh, sorry, buddy, I gotta leave. And it's just like, what? Wild.
This sounds distressingly like the first movie in tone and dialogue.
It is.
I like as kind of on board as I've been to a lot of the the upcoming No Way Home kind of multiverse things they've been throwing out. I don't think I'm into this. I think
they had to do it.
They didn't, did they?
Yeah, like as I said to you, man, this whole period of the MCU has one aim: to consolidate.
I don't
Yeah,
want the stank of Sony
at the
on
same
my
time-
MCU.
It's
That's the
not. They're
thing
trying to get
is-
rid of the stank of Sony. That's what they're trying to do.
That's the thing is I've really just kind of I think that was one of the things I was enjoying most about Venom on its own thing is that I can go into these movies and not have to think about how this will impact X, Y, and Z and 10 other movies I'm going to end up seeing this year. Not to say I don't enjoy that. I'm on this show, for instance. but like
that Marvel bucket is getting filled up.
But like at the same time, I also enjoy not doing that. So that was kind of always one of the things I really liked about Venom. So finding out, I was like, oh, okay, no, this does impact X, Y, Z, and I've now got to think about Doctor Strange. And like on top of that, it's just the fact that like this Venom does not gel with that Spider-Man.
You can't have them be enemies, not without kind of. But actually, that brings up does every character from Venom come into the MCU too? Do you know what I mean? Like,
possibly.
He's got a supporting cast and stuff.
Possibly. I mean, yeah, like if Annie and Dan show up, maybe. Who's to say? I think like they show at the set because like Tom Eddie Brock like kind of touches the TV when it shows like Tom Holland Spider-Man. And I'm just gonna think, like, why do you care who this kid is? You're like, as far as we've been told, your universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. Why do you care?
Yeah, like it'll be interesting to see them kind of go through because Spider-Man 3 tried it, but the journey of Venom and the symbiote separately to becoming Spider-Man's enemy is such a weird, complex narrative that you can't rush it, but equally you can't do it with a character who's set up to be a hero. Like, especially not with, like you said, tiny Tom Holland Spider-Man, who, like, is kind of dorky and sort of very pleasant. Like, I'm interested to see how they're going to put Venom where he needs to be, because at the moment it feels like it's a very kind of like trying to put a peg in the wrong shape, that kind of thing, And
then on top of that, like kind of bringing this in now, it's either going to become like, if they give him a kind of a more major role, it's going to be an incredibly busy movie, which I just rewatched Spider-Man 3 and that did not turn out well for that movie. Or it's just going to be a kind of a bit piece cameo and I'm going to spend the entire movie being like, where's my Eddie Brock?
I don't think Eddie Brock is going to be in the No Way Home. I think he might be post-credits, but that'd be it. Because you could make an event out of Venom and Spider-Man meeting incredibly easily and not need to bring in any other Avengers faces. People will turn up for that. It's like Batman versus Superman. You put those two faces on the poster, they will be a turn up.
Yeah, maybe that's, but at the same time, like, if I can only obviously speculate, but like looking at the Marvel kind of roster going forward, it's Spider-Man and then like it's Eternals and then Spider-Man, but that kind of leads straight into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Which actually, on that note, quite a lot of Marvel films have had their release dates pushed back by about a month or two.
Well, this is because again, like a lot of this is just kind of fixing the problem because the Eternals is obviously going to set up the X-Men is obviously, or not the X-Men, because I don't even think they're going to use the term X-Men. I think they're using they're going to use X-Force or something, because like X-Men has it's a damaged brand at this point. Like it kind of
I wouldn't go that far, but I see.
Well, it's like when you think of X-Men, in movies, you think of like X2 and that's about it.
Look, we're coming into our 5th Batman or something. If they want to do it, they'll do it, and I'll turn up.
Yeah, but it's very different though. Like again, you're dealing. Your X-Men is a 20-year continuity, man.
Yeah, okay, fair.
It's the Marvel problem of continuity. This is why DC do what they do. And look, I think I enjoyed the separation to an extent as well. I would have been happy not having everything cross over, but at the same time, having your cake and eat it too would have been good, where it's like, okay, you guys want to do your movie, cool, we'll do ours. Obviously you can't do that because of IP, but I would have much rather Sony got off and made their own Spider-Man movie, like Into the Spider-Verse, for example, which is getting a sequel. That's a perfect way to do it. Go off and do your own stuff and we'll have our here,
But that's not how the media landscape's working at the moment, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And particularly with Marvel, everything you see from Marvel, pretty much that was the whole point of Loki. It was the whole point of the next Spider-Man movie, and the whole point of pretty much everything up until Doctor Strange literally fixes the multiverse. That it's all consolidation. So in the next couple of months, we're going to see a lot of familiar faces. We're going to see a complete tonal shift. And here's the thing: if you look at Mobius, not Mobius, sorry.
I forgot
Morbius.
that one was coming out. Jesus, Morbius.
Yeah. Morbius. The trailer for that has the Spider-Man 2 of Spider-Man 2 in up on the wall.
Okay.
Tobey Maguire. He's
Right.
shown that's the Spider-Man of that universe. So look, we're going to see consolidation. We're going to have so much of this, and even the what if, as we've talked about, that was about consolidation too. So it's interesting.
Okay,
it's interesting,
that's true.
guys.
But like, I want to say that to give Marvel credit, I think they have been quite good in not just rushing out to sequelize the successful things. Like we had Shang-Chi, we had Black Widow, like the Eternals are next month. I think.
Oh God, is that next month?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's next month.
Oh, like we're getting Spider-Man and Eternals before this year ends, and it's the end of October.
Oh no, I don't.
This
is COVID
that,
just
Marvel,
compressing everything.
I don't want to see the Eternals at all. I'm so sorry. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Okay,
I don't even know why. I don't even know why. I'm gonna go see it. I don't know. I just have really bad vibes off it, man. I'm like, this is gonna be bad. I can tell this is gonna be bad.
We can't help you, Dara.
I know. And you know what? I hope I'm wrong. Like Shang-Chi was amazing. So Jesus, that's 4 Marvel movies in 2021. Oh my God. Wow.
And that's 5 Disney Plus shows.
5 if you include Venom as well.
That's COVID though. Like that was everything. Like they'd had things done that they just kind of had. Like they're just kind of compressing them.
I don't know. Here, when here's what we should do. We should go see the Eternals and then together, and then do a post-mortem.
That sounds like fun, actually. That'd be fun.
I think we should do that. That'd be fun.
This has stopped being a podcast and just become us planning.
Marvel. It's our Marvel therapy sessions.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still cool that we live in a world that you have all these properties that you never thought you get movies out of. So like, even when we say stuff like, "Oh, that's a bad movie," the fact that it exists is still very admirable. To be fair,
we could be living in a world that still had
Schumacher's Batman.
Well, I was going to say Electra, but
oh geez, man, the real dark times. Electra and Catwoman, and dude, see, I don't know. It's one of those things.
It could be worse.
It can always be worse. It was worse. It was worse for a long time. You could get Steel. Or Spawn,
I love Steel. That's excellent.
I know Spawn needs a remake. Spawn is awesome. Like the character's awesome. The movie not so much. It has moments.
No, again, Spawn is like Venom. How could you detach him from his 90s-ness?
You don't. You embrace it. You set it in the 90s.
I suppose 90s is like nostalgic now, in the way the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff is nostalgic.
Oh yeah. I saw a headline saying that they're trying to bring back low-waisted bell bottoms. The 90s are back.
Listen, we didn't know how good we had it in the 90s. The 90s was the best. We need to go back. Build a time machine.
Oh God, yeah. Before the internet.
No. Hold on. Let's not go mad.
I like YouTube.
Yeah. Now 2001 to 2005. That was fine. I want to go back there.
2001 to 2005. What, when war started and the entire world fell apart? That time
didn't happen here. It was grand. We had like the Xbox and the internet. It's fine. Grand, man. The world has still fallen apart, but it affects us now, so it's far worse. I'd rather go back where I could just play the original Xbox. It was grand, and the internet still existed to an extent, so you can still
you can play the Xbox now.
Yeah, but it's different, Kane. The world is scary now.
The world is scary, and I have to work harder to play Halo 2.
Exactly. I have to work harder to pretend that the world isn't scary. So.
Oh, even as the Doctor Who advocate, I'll stay here. Thanks.
That's fair.
Right. I think we're well over time, even in overtime. So is there anything anyone wants to plug before we wrap?
I will plug the Desk Board Buddy. Go buy one. Oh, and if you want to give us money, that's cool too.
Oh my God.
nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com.
Yeah. No. Hey, give us cash. That we We really like that.
That manga garden doesn't grow itself.
No.
Kev can buy more fetching hats and Halloween paraphernalia. So that we need.
I need them to live.
That's cheap. You need more.
I just must have more. Of course,
you can. Paycheck bounced. My children need wine.
My children need wine.
My children, they need more foam skeletons.
My children, they keep stealing my Lego, and I need to buy more for me.
Oh man, Lego is so expensive. You know what? I got an email there from the Lego store because I'm a Lego VIP. Thanks to going to the Lego store, and they have a Halloween selection, and I know I'm going to spend a lot of money on Lego, and it depresses me because I have nowhere to put the Lego. It just stays in a box, but I'm going to buy more Lego.
Oh, such
is the condition of man.
You want your Lego in the hands of a toddler?
Oh man.
As I mentioned back up at the top of the show, you can watch me run a Greek mythology D&D campaign over on youtube.com/the Nancy Crew. Links obviously in the in the thing. Oh, we're not in the radio. The campaign is called The Odyssey of This Bish.
I love it. Yes.
Links obviously in the description. That's the word.
And if you want to give Kev money, you can do that too. Just give us money in general.
Give me money. Just
hat fund.
Yeah.
I'd actually, Dara, I believe you have a very interesting product to plug.
Project. Yes. So obviously we've been talking about the All Ireland Metal Project for quite some time, and everything is selling out really fast. So if you want to get the CD or merch, you go over to allirelandmetal.com and all the links are there. But we have a special Halloween thing coming for the band. So obviously, long time listener show, I know my band Horrenda. We've recorded a very special Halloween presentation. So if you're interested in that, go over to look us up horrendaera.com and you'll be able to find everything there as well, or official Horrenda on YouTube. And it's going to be there. It's going to be great. I think people are going to be very excited about it. So Kev, thanks for reminding me, man. I appreciate that.
No problem. It's going to be, I can't wait. It's going to be sick.
I hope so because it's we were recording in the Grand Social yesterday, and it was like we came out of a battle zone. There was that much just smoke and highs and everything. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for listening in, especially to the people who listen to the overtime. We will probably have some kind of Halloween special next week. By the time that goes out, you'll know better than we do. But in the meantime, I've been Cian.
I've been there.
I've been Kev.
And thank you for listening to our very complicated, emotionally involved comic book thoughts. And until next week, we will probably do exactly the same. Bye.
Bye. She says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic. I tell her while we're at it, we can work it night. She says I'm not romantic. I say she's too dramatic.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.